I would thank you for coming out early on a Tuesday morning to cover our program. We appreciate that very much. The academic needs of our team this semester required us to practice in the morning, and so some of our seniors could get some classes they needed for graduation in the afternoon. So hope it's not too much of an inconvenience, and again, very appreciative of you all coming out and covering our program. I was down in Birmingham last week, and the league, we were doing some different things for Media Day, and we were doing some promotional work to promote women's basketball and doing one of these commercials, and the league asked me to describe myself in one word. And that's a difficult job, but then they wanted me to do it in a very short period of time. So the first, my mind started racing and started thinking, how would others describe me? So I started thinking, how would Jenna describe me in one word? And I thought about that for a second. I quickly moved on because I didn't want to use that. Then I started thinking about how the players might describe me in words like crazy, nuts, not that smart. That's 3 words. So I moved on from all that, and I landed on grateful. And I would describe myself this morning as very, very grateful to have a 7th opportunity to coach the Kentucky Wildcats. I thank God for that. There's just no way I would be here. I've had the opportunities that I've had at Kentucky without the strength that God has provided me and my family and the people in this program. So give all the glory and praise to God this morning for that. Real grateful. Just a quick personal update. We had a little baby, Presley Blue, 6 pounds, 12 ounces, future shooting guard here at Kentucky if they don't fire me before then. So she is doing well. Jenna's doing well. Our family's just so blessed. We thank God for that as well. So things are really good. And before we talk about this current team, I just want to express my gratitude and tell you how grateful I am for all the former players that have helped us move into this position, because we are in a different position than we were 5 or 6 years ago. And players like Carly Morrow and Victoria Dunlap and Lydia Watkins and Amani Franklin, Adia Mathis, those kind of kids have came in here and really did things not their own way, but they embraced the Kentucky way, which is honesty, hard work, and discipline. So really grateful to them, and we find ourselves with this 13-14 team in a great position to have an outstanding season, and so we would not have been able to do that with all the efforts of the people that have come before this team. So this team is been a lot of fun to coach so far. This is the 17th practice this morning that you all will have a chance to observe, and they've made tremendous progress during that time. They showed up in tremendous shape, and conditioning was strong when they showed up for practice. So they've been a great group to work with. It's a lot of fun to be around them. I think they want to be a championship team. What we're focusing on this year is real simple concept. It's not going to be easy, but it's real simple. We just want to try to be our very best, and we talk about that virtually every day. If we can become our best, we can have a terrific season here at Kentucky. So with that, I'll open it up to questions, and we're excited to get started.
First question.
Matthew, this might be basic, but what about the time difference with practice? How's the response been? Because that is a change in the routine.
It is a different situation than we've had in the past. One thing that equips our players to be able to handle that, especially early in the season and in the preseason, we've always trained in the morning. In the summer, they train in the morning. They're up even earlier. This is a bit of a break for them. They're up even earlier in the summer. It's unbelievable what our players do when they choose to come in and go through the voluntary workouts during the summer. They're up before 6 every morning training. And in the preseason, we've always tried to instill some discipline in our team by practicing early in the morning. And so I think we were probably better equipped to handle it than if we had no experience over the years of going early in the morning. They get started about 7:40 each morning. We huddle up and circle up and then get going after that. And so, there's a lot of folks in the world going to work a lot earlier than that. So it's not all that tough. And the players have just handled it great. We've had very spirited sessions and have worked very hard. So the early practice time, I think, has a lot of benefits, and they've handled it well.
Matthew, could you just talk about Michaela Epps and how you feel she's kind of come along and where you see her fitting in this year?
Well, Michaela is someone we're very grateful that she chose Kentucky, and we're excited about her talent level. And what I've been impressed by is her character. She comes in with a lot of accolades and with high expectations. I'm very impressed with how she has handled all of that. Wherever she's had a deficiency and freshmen come in with some gaps, in whether it may be effort because they're not used to the pace of practice, or whether it may be conditioning or whatever it is, freshmen have an adjustment period. And every time Michaela has had something presented to her where she needed to get better, her response has been phenomenal. She's proven to be very receptive to coaching. And so when you get a real talented player who is not afraid to address her weaknesses, that's very, very exciting for a coach. And Michaela is so versatile. She can literally play every position on the floor for us. And we've had some versatile players before. The thing that sort of makes her different is she can legitimately play the point guard position, which is the most difficult position on our team to play. So she can play them all and play them all well. And so we're really excited about her. Last night we had our tip-off celebration with our booster club, and we talked to her, and she addressed the crowd, and she said she's just here to help, and she wants to win championships. And so just a very humble attitude for a player of that caliber is exciting for a coach to see. So I'm very optimistic about her future, and I think she has a chance to have a good freshman season.
Just talk about how the depth that you have at this point in the backcourt. I think you have 5 McDonald's All-Americans now at the various positions back there, and what that can do for you.
Well, I have found this. They don't teach much defense at that McDonald's game. They're not working very hard on the defensive end of the floor. So some of the McDonald's All-Americans have a bit of an adjustment period when they get to Kentucky from that respect. What I love about our entire team is the talent level. And I don't know where we would land on the most talented team in the country, but we have a very, very talented team, and they are all mobile and agile and athletic, and I think that gives us an advantage if we can find a way as coaches to put them in the right positions. The thing in the backcourt, what I think makes us have the potential to be very dangerous, is that anybody really can get the basketball and get it up the floor, and that helps with the tempo issue of really pressing the issue tempo-wise. You don't have to wait for one player to come get the ball. And right now in practice, which this is very early and could change and has changed before in our program, but right now Jennifer O'Neill and Janae Thompson are getting a majority of the reps at the point, and they are both so fast and so explosive, and both are shooting the three so well that's two point guards that can keep the pace going, but then you can outlet it to virtually anybody, Castine Evans, Bria Goss, Lene Harper, Michaela Epps, just really anybody can take that and push the ball down the court. So it helps you offensively and defensively just keep the level of intensity up and keep the tempo up, and those are all things that are valuable here at Kentucky.
Matthew, what are you looking for from Denisha Stallworth this year as far as her development?
Denisha is very, very talented, and what I try to impress upon her is we have a very important season ahead of us, but also she has a very important future ahead of us beyond this season. So I have, in my mind, a real sense of urgency to try to complete the job that we started. She came here because she wanted to become a complete player, and she wanted to really reach her potential, which is another way of saying she wants to be her best. So I'm just looking for that. She has so many physical gifts. She's such a versatile offensive and defensive player, another player that we love because she's so versatile. What I think she needs to do is just taking that approach every single day of believing in herself and making sure that happens before practice starts, and then practicing with that belief, I think is really the key for her to break out and be. And I think she ought to be one of the top 10 or 12 players in the country. I think she should be an All-American. I think she could work herself into a position of being a top 5 draft choice. All of those things are going to happen. I don't think physically. I think it's going to start mentally and emotionally for her. So just her believing in herself and coming to practice every day, pushing herself to be the best, because she has everything that you need to be an All-American type, SEC Player of the Year type, first round draft choice type, long professional careers ahead of her if she can get those mental and emotional things that will help her stay strong. I think that's really the key for her.
We're here with Brett Dawson.
Matthew, when you make 3 Elite Eights in this stretch of time, how much time do you spend thinking about the next step, the Final Four, and what do you think separates you from getting there at this point?
I spend a lot of time thinking about where this program would be and what it would look like if we are the very best we can be. And so I think the best version of Kentucky women's basketball is year in and year out one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the country. I think that leads you to Final Fours. I think that leads you to think about national championships. So that's sort of an overall thought that drives you every single day. I don't sit there every day thinking, oh, we've got to, put this play in to get to the Final Four. It's not that kind of thought process. It's more of a what kind of culture do we need here? What kind of players do we need here? What is our mission to be our best? And not all of that is wrapped up in a Final Four or national championship. A lot of that has to do with what kind of people are we producing, what kind of preparation are we giving these young women for life. So I think about those things a lot. I sort of think if we can get the right kind of people here operating at a real high level of character and work ethic and some of those intangibles, I think the basketball side is going to take care of itself. If you have talented players that work really hard and do their best, then you'll end up in a good spot. So that's what I'm thinking about every day. As it relates to getting to a Final Four, I don't know that it's any one thing. I think there's a combination of things. I think, we've seen that in the women's game, being a number one seed greatly enhances your opportunity to go to the Final Four. That's just historical. And so the way you do that is you don't lose very many games. You got to win games. And I think this team, with our regular season, every game that's on our schedule, I think we could win it. So that's a good spot to be in going into the season. And so to be a number one seed, I think you have to just try to see how many of those you can win. And I think that'd be the next sort of logical step for us, is try to get from a 2 seed to a 1 seed. And those are just having the mental strength and focus to win a game on the road at South Carolina like we lost last year, or win the LSU game on the road that we lost. Those are the things. I don't know that's any one big glaring deficiency that we have. I think it's just more little things we'll have to pay attention to, and that gets tough to do day in and day out in a long basketball season. So that would be what I think that's the best answer I'd have on how to get to a Final Four or win a national championship.
Right here with John Ham.
Does this team have a go-to player on the roster like Adia was for you the last few years, or is that going to be kind of a committee approach at this point?
It's just too early to tell. We're still, going at each other every day, and it's real intense competition, and different people are doing well. I think there are a lot of candidates, but sitting here this morning after after 16 practices and with the 17th practice underway, I don't have that answer for you. A lot of good options there, and we'll just see how that develops. A lot of times that's a bit more involved than just your physical ability. That's another, who reacts well in those situations. So I think as we get in those situations, we will find out. From a coach's standpoint, the ball would get to Denisha Stallworth would be at the top of my list right now. I would want the ball in her hands. Just from a physical standpoint, she can make plays, have a lot of confidence in a lot of the players. But I think Denisha is probably the most gifted and talented offensive player that we have.
Right here with the boys.
Coach, you talked about your backcourt versatility this season. Last season, you had struggles with identity in the backcourt. Do you think that'll be a problem again this season?
I think our players in the backcourt, as much as we can as coaches, it's a difficult situation sometimes for them because we value versatility so much and we play so many people. I think you need to, the best you can, establish what roles players are playing and what they need to do out there. One thing that we like here at Kentucky is not put anybody in a box and tell you what you can't do. So sometimes that makes defining roles a little bit more challenging. But I think from what I've seen so far is that we're not going to have any problems with who we want to be and who we're going to become with our players. And I just think that we have the makings of a very explosive team, and our backcourt will be a big reason for that if that happens.
Right here with Larry.
Matthew, when you're talking about the chance to win a national championship, and you look up there and you see there's a chance, Lexington, Louisville, Nashville's where you could be playing and things, you kind of feel like karma. I mean, do you talk about that with your team any? And how do you kind of look at that?
I do a bad job of that, Larry. I haven't talked to the team about I don't even know that I've even mentioned to them that we got the first and second round. I probably need to go over that with the team and tell them I've had my hands full here the last couple of weeks, and that slipped by me. The day they announced that, of course, Jenna had to have the baby on that day, all right? And so I was all tied up, and I could barely even comment on that. We were so full with responsibility at the hospital, but that was funny. The day Presley was born was the day that announcement came, so that was really a happy day. A little added bonus to it, and we're so appreciative of everybody here at Kentucky that, you just don't write on a piece of paper, we want to have the first and second round, and you get it. A lot of people did a lot of hard work to get that done, and it is an incredible advantage. You think about, we have gone on the road the last 4 years, and 3 of those years we've been able to find a way to get to the Sweet 16, where a lot of the top programs have hosted, and I just think it's a big advantage that I need to probably share with the team of the opportunity that they have. We've been last 4 years 62-3 down here at Memorial Coliseum. So we know it's a place that we've had some success, and to have your first and second round game there, if you can, do the work that gets you into the tournament, that's a big advantage. I just usually, this time of year, try to stay so focused on, daily progress, the daily process of trying to build the team, that we don't get ahead of ourselves a lot and talk about the end a whole lot. But, just sitting here visiting with you good folks, that's a huge development for us, where we could stay here and play. So we'll work hard to get into the tournament, and we will enjoy, if in fact they do the work, and I think they will, we'll enjoy being here in Lexington. And then I have not looked at it closely enough. I'm not sure if they're trying to keep everybody close to home, but if we could go over, and fortunate enough to win the first 2 and play in Louisville. We've had success there in the NCAA tournament 4 years ago, and our fans would be excited about that. So it would be wonderful if that's how it played out. But right now, we're just trying to become the best we can be, and if this team will do that every day, we'll end up in a good spot in the NCAA tournament, and hopefully set ourselves up for a real successful run. A lot of work to do before that happens.
Matthew, people think of you as kind of a defensive-minded team, but a lot of your players said that you focused on offense a lot this summer. What was your goal with that, and what did you see, and do you think it'll show up on the court?
Well, the last 2 years we've gotten to the Elite Eight with a very, very good, strong UConn team, very good defensive team, and they're also a very good offensive team. And so just didn't feel like in either one of those games we did as well as we could do offensively. I thought a lot of, particularly in last year's game, our lack of poise in that position led to some bad shots, which really fueled their offense. Their transition offense is really where they killed us. Was I think more of a product of us not playing poor defense, but us playing poor offense and taking bad shots, which led out to transition for them. So, as you go through self-evaluation process, we scored a bunch of points last year against some really good teams, but we've been there at the precipice of the Final Four 3 times now, and in all 3 games, I felt like our offensive execution could have been better. So I just think that we need to make sure as coaches we give them enough opportunity to get to a spot where they, under pressure at the most important time, can execute. And so it's a challenge to become your best, but we're just trying to do that every single day. And so I think that where we are as a program and how hard we've worked on our defensive fundamentals, if you watch our practice, those kind of things are really ingrained and working hard. And so I think trying to pay a little bit extra attention to offensive execution will serve this team well. So that's been the goal. And also in the summer, we were so happy to be able to work with our players, but we also didn't want it to lengthen the season to a spot where it just becomes no fun. And so, we all start out playing the game, on some court shooting the ball into the hoop, and that's usually what people fall in love with. You don't start out the first experience in basketball doing defensive explosion drills. So, we just tried to make sure that the players were having a productive summer, but also it not become a tremendous grind, because the season we'll practice, if this team does what I think they can do, we'll practice over 100 times. We'll play in nearly 40 games. So the season is tough and is a grind. So to try to get better and then to try to make sure it was a productive summer, that's what we focused on.
Are you seeing advantages now?
Am I seeing advantages now? Yes. Have we progressed offensively? I think so. I think we're much further ahead after 16 practices than we were after the 16 practices last year. But the summer really helps with that.
Right here, John.
Matthew, you talked about the summer conditioning program your players undergo. What sort of conditioning program did you have to undergo to pull off that dance the other night?
Well, it was very intense. To get in a position to perform in front of 23,000 is no small task. It's very intense. You have to come prepared. There's no doubt about it. The real issue, I think, just the elephant in the room, is everyone wants to know, how did I do the split, and how did I get to that position at 42 years old? And let me tell you, it was not easy to do. Here's what happened. On about, I had so much free time in September with the recruiting and a very pregnant wife. I had a lot of free time in September to focus on the dance. I thought y'all would laugh more. It was a joke. I had no free time in September. No free time in September. So October the 1st, we brought the team together. It's a very, very involved process. We have costume designer, we have dance choreographer, we have bring the team together. So we say, hey, look, it's 18 days. What are we going to do? So the dance choreographer, Dawn Walters, God bless her, says you have to do this split. So on October 1, I could barely just get into the position stationary. I was sitting on the floor and I was like, there's no way I can get this done. So she said, well, this is called stretching. You're going to have to stretch. And so over the next 17 days, you see the results. I did the work. I stretched out. And we really, the video before the dance would have been, we could have sold that. I danced for about 45 minutes back in Rupp Arena dressing room to try to get my muscles loosened up to get the split. So we did the split, and that's really all that had to happen in the dance was the split.
So can this serve as an example to your team that anything's possible?
There's no doubt. If you're willing to prepare and willing to take risks to get out of your comfort zone, you can do it. That is a great message to the team. So that was a fun night, and so. Yeah, there was quite a bit of stretching that went into the preparations.
We got time for a couple more. Kyle Tucker next.
What have Lene and Michaela done to the practices in your backcourt, and also just the significance of them as recruits? Obviously, Lene is the top-rated recruit you've gotten here, and Michaela is one of the best players probably in state history.
Well, they've added talent to the practices. They're very talented players. They're high-character young people that I enjoy being around. They're behind defensively. They're behind offense. They're just behind because of where our program is and the quality of players in it. But they're making up ground every day. And you this week, which is really the third full week of practice, I've started to see them start to narrow that gap and start to catch up and start to sort of get more comfortable with where they are. But they're they're both really high quality, high level players, and they'll do well when they come every day and understand how important it is to give a great effort. You know, Michaela and Kyvan and Lene, when they walk into the gym, nobody on our team is concerned with where their recruiting ranking was at all. They're just concerned with, can they become a part of our defensive scheme, and can they produce offensively? And you know, that's really all the recruiting stuff is good because you're getting talented players, but it just doesn't really make anything happen for you on the court. So I think that they'll be very successful players here because I like their attitude and I love their talent level.
Looking at the stats from last season, you could say that Jennifer O'Neal's gameplay was kind of inconsistent from game to game. What have you all worked on just in these first few weeks of practice to help her have more consistent gameplay?
Just continue to work with Jennifer on her mental approach to the game and her emotional approach to the game. She's another example of a player that is so physically gifted. I never grow tired of watching her in practice with the ball in her hands. She is so fast and explosive, and I get excited. You know, several plays during the practice, she'll do things that you just can't teach anybody to do. She's so explosive. It's the plays where I can teach her to, you know, make better decisions with the basketball. Don't go for the home run play. Just, you know, go for the easy or the more simple play. Things like that. That's where we are with Jennifer. It's a mental battle every day where she can make good decisions, and it's an emotional battle every day to let go of the bad and get on to the next play and refocus. And so that is where you will see a lot of our players finally end up at their very best, is when they pay attention to the mental and the emotional side of their games. I think is really the key, because Jennifer's a great example. She has everything you need. Great speed. She's not that tall, but she's very strong and tough. She can jump. She can run. She can handle contact. She has great court vision. She can shoot the three. So, you know, physically, there's just not a lot of deficiencies in her game, except for, you know, possibly how tall she is. Other than that, she has everything. And so now it's just her making sure she can handle things properly. And so that's a coach's job, I think, is to make sure that you are paying attention to that, and you are supporting that player in that process and thinking about how we can make that happen. So, you know, that's a great way to end the discussion today. Is that's really going to be the key for this team? Are those kinds of mental and emotional situations? Can we be our strongest and our best in those? Because we have a lot of physical gifts. But really appreciate you guys covering the program.